What is robustness?
Means Java compiler will generate the .java file to .class file, so that for Java files the virus will not affect.
Okay. Right. And what is the selection process?
Selection based on the condition it will select.
Based on the condition. For this, what are the statements you can use?
The control can be moved to the specific statement.
Yeah. So what are the conditions, what are the statements that are going to be used over there?
If and switch.
Right. What is the difference between these two?
If we can compare both, we can use both logical and comparison operators.
Okay.
Whereas in switch, both are not possible.
Okay.
And switch by default switch can take characters, but it will convert into its ASCII code.
Okay.
Then it will check the conditions.
Okay. Right. Okay. And come to this today's session, you'll see about what is the sample. Already I've seen this. This is the sample program. So within this, the system is the class, and out is a member of a system class, which is initiated with the print stream class, and println is the method. Here with this, in the system.out.println, system is the class and out is the member being initiated by the print stream class. And println is a method. The purpose of this method is to display some information on console. Right? For example,
Yeah.
say, if I am compiling this one, so it will display this is a sample. So that is use of a println method.
Okay.
Right? And come to this one. And what are the control? As I have already discussed, that selection and then iteration process, you can call it as the control flow statements. This control flow statements, how I can categorize in this sense? So basically three types. One is a sequence that's already seen, and the next one is the conditional statements, and unconditional statements, and last category is the looping statements. The first one and the last one already are seen, that is a selection process as well as iteration.
Yeah.
And come to the unconditional statements. What are the unconditional statements? Have any idea on this?
No.
Right. Here you can use the different statements like a break, continue, exit, and return, and go to. So they are the unconditional statements. Right.
Okay.
And come to this first one, there is a break and then continue. Mostly you can use these two in iteration process. Mostly you can use in loops. At a certain time, based on certain condition, if you want to terminate the loop, you can use a break. At certain condition, if you want to skip that index value while working with your iteration process, you can use a continue. For example, take another program. Now I can define the class. So what are the variables you want, you can declare within this main function. I'm going to use only one variable, that is for index. Now I try to use the for loop. So the loop is starting from 1 up to 10 and increment by 1. And within this, what I'm doing is, here I can take the condition. If I value is a 5, break.
Okay.
If I value is a 5, break, and try to display. In other cases, display the I value. And the main function close and the class definition close. So it will display whenever the I value reaches the 5, it will terminate the loop.
Okay.
Right? So that is a break. And same thing, instead of a break, if you are using the continue, just it will skip that 5 value and the remaining all the values has to be displayed.
Welcome to GoToMeeting, online meetings made easy. There are 2 other callers on the call.
Clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is the difference between break and then continue. And the next one is the exit. Permanently to exit from runtime. Permanently to exit from a runtime, you can use a exit. And this return statement mostly you can use in the functions. While working with the functions to return the value, you can use a return statement. And based on the label to change the execution control from one place to another place, you can use a go to. These 2 things we'll see in coming sessions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, unconditional statements, break, continue, exit, as well as return and then go to, right? So totally control flow statements can be categorized. Conditional statement, this is nothing but a selection process. There you can use a if statement as well as a switch. And unconditional statements, and within this there are different statements are going to be used, break, continue. These 2 you can use mostly in iteration process. And whenever you can use the break, it will terminate the iteration process. Whenever you can use the continue, it will skip the index value. And exit to exit from runtime permanently. And this return statement you can use mostly while working with the functions to return the value in the function definitions you can use. And go to change the execution control from one place to another place, you can use a go to. Clear? And looping statements, there you can use the for loop, while loop, as well as do while loop. And come to the next topic, that is the command line arguments. So what are the values you are passing? Suppose in this case, while running the program, along with the program, what are the values you are passing? Suppose if I am passing the 10, this 10 is called command line argument.
Okay.
Right? So this arguments index is starting from 0 because these values can be stored in an array. So this is the command line arguments array. So the array name is args, and whatever the values you are given, those values are a string type. Suppose in the previous program, what happened? See, system.out.println is said that this is a sample. You can run this program any number of times. Always it will display the output as sample only. Right? This is sample. Right? You can run any number of times. It will display same. That is not my requirement. I can pass the values from this runtime. Whatever the value which I am passing, I want to display. Clear? For this purpose, you go for a command line arguments. For example, so the argument is an array, it's a dynamic array based on the number of arguments which are passing. Suppose if I am passing only one argument, the argument index is a 0. If I am passing the two arguments, the first argument index is a 0 and second argument index is 1. Now I can start with only one argument. Suppose here instead of this is the sample. Now what I'm doing is I can refer the first element. The array name is the args. I want to display the first element. The first element index is a 0. See what happened. Now save this. Compile this. Sample. Definitely can pass some value because you are referring args of 0. Clear? If you are not passing any argument, it will give an error. Suppose I can give it as fun. So it will display funny.
Okay.
It is Kumar. It will display Kumar. What are the values which are passed? Suppose if you are not passing any argument, it will give an error because you referred args of 0, but there is no value for this. So it will give an error called the array index out of bounds exception. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
So definitely you can pass some value once you can refer the elements based on the number of elements which are passing. Clear with this?
Yes.
Yeah. And now what my requirement is, in this case what happened, I can refer only, I can pass only one argument only. That is not my requirement. So based on the number of arguments which are, I maybe pass 2 arguments, 3 arguments, 4 arguments. So that's my requirement. Based on my requirement, I can pass any number of arguments. I want to display all those. That is my requirement. So this array has a property called this args array. Not only args array, you can take any array. To find out the number of elements in an array, we can use a method, we can use a property called length. You can use the property length.
Okay.
Right. So the purpose of this property is it will find out how many elements are there in array. So according to that, you can take the loop and the condition you can specify. Now what I'm doing is, so I can pass any number of arguments. I don't know how many arguments are there. So again, I can take the integer variable. I can start the loop. Array index is starting from
0.
And less than the length of elements. So that args.length and I++. So instead of referring only 0th element, I can refer a ith element.
Okay.
Next. Now I can compile once again. Right. I'm passing only one. It will display only one element. So it will display all the elements.
Okay.
Right. So that is about the command line arguments. That means at runtime, what are the values you are passing to the program, those values are called the command line arguments. The command line arguments index is starting from 0. And at that time, what happened? What are the values which are given? All the values can be stored in your string array, that which are specified in your main function. Clear?
Yes.
So because why I am going for command line arguments initially in the sense, Java won't give any priority to the input-output functions because in coming classes you are going to be working with a GUI-based environment. like you are going to be work with window-based environment, there is some input fields are available. But initially, there is a need to work with some input data. So that's why it depends on, everybody depends, not only myself, everybody depends on command line argument to specify some input. Right? So you can give any number of values like this. Right?
Oh.
Now the case is, if it is character type data, no problem, because the command line arguments are string type. Whatever the characters, whatever the strings which are given, everything can be stored. Suppose I want to work with some numeric values. So definitely mostly the programs are depends on some other data types. It may be numbers, it may be floating points, or it may be some other else. Right? At that time, how we can now perform the manipulations? So that you need conversion functions. So that you need conversion functions. The purpose of conversion functions is to convert from one data type to another data type. To convert from one data type to another data type. By default, all the command line arguments are string type. So I want to convert into integers, or I want to convert into floating point values, or I want to convert into double, or I want to convert into byte. Like this, I want to convert into other data types. For this purpose, you can use the conversion functions. And here, the first one is I want to convert into integer. So you can use like this. And what is the expression you want to convert? And followed by the method into value. In same thing, you can convert to any type. Float dot value of expression. What is the expression you want to convert? And float value. So based on other data types, you can use in same fashion. Clear?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, yes.
Your voice is so completely low voice. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah. Clear with this? Why you are going for the conversion functions? So there is a requirement. I'm going to be specify some numeric data. So that's why I can use conversion functions. For example, so I want to accept the two integer values. I want to accept two integer values and display some of those. I can declare the variables like this. And for A, I can assign the first argument so that I can convert into integer. So if I'm not converting, what happens? See, I can assign the direct args of 0. So now the args of 0 is a string type, but I can assign to numeric data, right?
Yes.
So second argument I can assign. Now I try to display some of these two. To display any information, you can use the println method. Right. Right. Incompatible types.
Yes.
Yeah. To overcome this problem, you can use the conversion functions.
Okay.
Right. Now I can convert integer. Value of is the method of an integer class. And what is the value you want to convert? The first argument I want to convert. And into value is the sub method, which can return the integer data to A.
Okay.
Clear? Now I can check it. Now I can pass. It will display 50.
Yeah.
Right. Suppose if you are passing any string type data now, it will give you an error again. Right. Number format exception. So you are using the integer function, but you pass string type data. So that is an error, right?
Yes.
So that's about conversion functions. Like this, you can work with your floating point values. You can work with double. You can work with the byte, other data types. In same fashion, to convert from other data types to string type, just you can use string dot value of expression.
Okay.
So there is no string value. That's it. Like this, you can work with your conversion functions. Clear?
Yes.
Yeah. And now what my requirement is within this program, I don't want to display sum of these two numbers. I want to interchange. These numbers. What is the logic? Suppose if I'm in the A value is 10 and then B value is a 15, after processing, A value becomes 15 and then B value becomes 10.
Yes. First, we have to take one temporary variable.
Okay. And
Then we have to store in that variable. We have to store any of these values. C equal to
okay.
A.
So suppose I can okay.
Then A equal to B. We are storing B value into A.
Okay. A value equal to B.
Okay.
Right?
Then B equal to C. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. This is one process. Now I try to display. I want to display both the values in the single line, so that I can use like this: A plus some space B. This is one method. Instead of using two println statements, I can use like this.
Okay.
And both are concatenated and it can display. Now I can check it. $30 and $20. It is swapping, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now what my requirement is, I don't want to use a third variable. I don't want to use third variable. Then hello.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they are thinking. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No idea.
No idea. Right. So now what I'm doing is, I can write the expressions like this: A equal to A plus B, and A equal to, and again what I'm doing is B equal to A minus B, and again A equal to A minus B. Suppose what are the values which are taken previously? Let us say 20 and 30. A value is 20 and then B value is 30. Because of the first statement, what happened? A becomes 50.
Yes.
And after that, B equal to A minus B. Already A value already became 50. 50 minus 30. So B becomes 20.
Yes.
And again A equal to A minus B. So 50 minus 20, A becomes 30.
Okay.
So once again, compile this. And not only for this, you can take any values. You can take 89 and 76.
Okay.
So like this you can use. Now what my requirement, another requirement on the same program, I don't want to use these arithmetic operators. I don't want to take these arithmetic operators. Hi Alok. Okay. So the clue is you can use bitwise operators. So you know the bitwise operators, bitwise and bitwise or. Hello?
Yes.
You have an idea. Bitwise and bitwise or bitwise XOR operator.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So which operator is suitable for this? You can use only one operator out of you have bitwise and bitwise or bitwise XOR operator, left shift operator as well as a right shift operator. Right? So bitwise operator. So in case of bitwise operator, same as your logical AND. So you know what happened if you are applying the AND operator between two numbers, two binary numbers. If both are 1, then only the output is 1. And in remaining all cases, the output is 0.
Yes.
Right? And in case of OR, what happened? If any one of the values is true, the output is 1. Otherwise, the output is 0.
No.
Yes?
Yes.
In case of OR operator, same that has to be applied in bitwise OR also. But particularly come to this XOR operator, if both the values are same, then only the output is 1. That is, in case of 0, 0, the output is 1. In case of 1, 1, the output is 1. In remaining two cases, it's a 0.
Okay.
Now, you can take a simple numbers like A value is a 5 and B value is a 8. And between you can apply and which operator is suitable.
Or
You can check it. You can write definitely you can write the same 3 statements, and but you can use in all the expressions you can use only one operator, either AND or 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 XOR. Hello?
Yes, XOR.
XOR operator, exactly. So the XOR operator can be represented using a caret symbol, cap symbol. This is XOR operator.
Okay.
So for all, the equation is same. Right? We're trying the same thing, huh?
Ye-
Right?
Yes.
Right. Now I can check it. Clear?
Yes.
Right. Like this, for each and every program, there are different methods. Right? You can
Okay.
try out, right? And so I'll give some programs. You can try out those. Right?
Okay.
Accept a number and check whether it is perfect number or not. Perfect number or not. This is one program. Prime number or not. What is the perfect number?
Mm. Uh, the sum of all its divisors must be equal to the same number.
Button?
Uh,
The sum of?
one sec. Mm.
Okay, repeat once again, no problem.
Uh, oh no.
Right. Except the given number, remaining factors sum equal to given number is called perfect number. For example, you can take the 6. So the input number is a 6. Except the 6. What are the factors for 6?
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. 1 plus 2 plus 3 equal to given number. So that is called a perfect number.
Okay.
Clear?
Yes.
Right. So, and another one is a prime number or not. Hi, Alok. Hi, Alok. Hello. Hello, Alok. Yeah. So that is a one program, right? Perfect number. And the next one is a prime number. What is the prime number?
Which doesn't have any factors except one and itself.
On itself. So the total number of factors is a 2.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, Alok. Now it's possible. You listen my voice. Right. What is Armstrong number? You can take another program, and that is Armstrong number or not. What is Armstrong number?
No idea.
No idea.
Yes.
Yeah. So in case of Armstrong number, what happened in a the sum of individual digits to the power of number of digits in a given number is equal to given number. Yeah. Hi, Alok. Clear with this? Once again, repeat my definition for Armstrong number. In a given number, the individual digits to the power of the sum of.
Are you able to hear me?
Who is speaking? Alok? Hello? Yeah. Once again, I can give the definition for this one, Armstrong number. The sum of individual digits, to the power of number of digits in a given number. The sum of individual digits to the power of number of digits is equal to number of digits in a given number. Given number is equal to given number. So this is the definition for an Armstrong number. For example, you can take 153. In 153, how many digits are there?
3.
3 digits. Now you can make it as 1 cube. That is the definition. The sum of individual digits to the power of number of digits in a given number. 1 cube plus 5 cube plus 3 cube. 1 cube it's a 1. 5 cube it's 125. And 3 cube it's a 27. 125 plus 27, 152 plus 1, 153.
Okay.
So such type of numbers are called Armstrong numbers. Clear?
Okay.
Alright, these 3 programs you can try out. And The next concepts which are going to be touched with the object-oriented features. What are the main three pillars? The main three pillars of your object-oriented concepts is first one is the data encapsulation. And second one is the inheritance. And third one is the polymorphism. So these are the three main pillars of object-oriented concepts, object-oriented features, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the data encapsulation? Any idea?
No.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
hiding, I think.
Right. So generally you can call it as a data hiding. So it's in case of C languages, what happened? You are directly accessing the variables. There is no restrictions. Suppose if within the main function, if we said that integer a comma b, ab can be accessed without any conditions, without doing anything. So there is no security for your data. So the actual definition for this data encapsulation is defining the classes with the set of members and member functions is called data encapsulation. Up to now in your sample program, whatever the variables you are declared within the main function, not outside of the main function. Clear? If you declared these variables outside of the main functions, that is exactly called the data encapsulation. If you are taking only this part, this is same as your C language.
Yeah.
Right? So if you are declaring these members as well as the member functions outside of the main function, that is called data encapsulation. While working with this data encapsulation, you can use a different access specifiers. You can use a different access specifiers. One is a public, and the next one is a private, and the next one is a protected. Protect. Right? In case of public, by default is a private. If it is a private variable, it's not possible to use in another classes. Suppose I am working with the multiple classes. I want to use those variables in the another class. It's not possible once you go for a private. By default is a private. If it is a public, you can use that variable in any number of programs. Sorry, any number of classes, not programs, any number of classes. If it is a protect, while working with the multiple classes, we can use in the next immediate class only for the declaration class. Once again repeat, data encapsulation is nothing but defining the classes with the set of members and member functions is called the data encapsulation. So while working with this data encapsulation, you can use different access specifiers. One is a public, and the next one is a private, and the next one is a protect. So by default is a private. So if it is a private, what happened? It's not possible to use that variable in another classes. You can use in a declaration class only. If it is a public, you can use in any number of classes in the same program. If it is a protect, while working with the multiple classes, you can use in a next immediate class for the declaration class. Clear?
Okay.
Right. For example, nothing but public is nothing but global, private is nothing but local, and protect is restricted to second class only. If you are declaring that variable as a protect in the first class, that can be used only in the second class only. It's not possible to use in the third and so on.
Okay.
Right? For example, Now I can declare the variables here. Now these two are private variables. Now I can define a method. The method name is addNum. Or without defining a method, I want to access this one. AB I want to access. So directly it's not possible to refer a value. So I'm set that A equal to 10. See what happened. Or A equal to, I can assign the args of 0. And B equal to args of 1. So in this case what happens, see, once you go for compile, where you are declaring outside of the main function. Clear?
Yes. Yes.
Now, but without doing anything, directly or try to access, see what happens, see. Can pass the values. It's not saved. So it will give an error. Incompatible data types is one error. And a non-static variable cannot be referenced from a static context. Clear with this error?
Means
One
what
is
is
yeah. Non-static variable A cannot be referenced from a static function. Clear with this? That is error. So that is a hiding. It's already told, no? Data encapsulation is nothing but hiding the data.
Yes.
So directly it's not possible to use that variable. If you want to use that variable, you can initialize this sample class. To initialize this sample class, you can create an object variable. To create an object variable, now this OB is an object for a sample class, which can be initialized by using the keyword new. Whenever you are using the new, some memory is allocated for this object. With the reference of this object only, it's possible to use. It's possible to refer the class members. Clear?
Yes.
Yeah. Now what I'm doing is, now these two errors will gone. Non-static variables cannot be assigned to the static functions. Now only you have to, that is you have to use the conversion functions.
Yes. Okay.
So that is the structure of your data encapsulation. If you want to use the class members, if it is, now you are working with only one class, now these variables are private type, that is no problem. Suppose if you want to use this AB in another class, then it must be declared as a public. By default it's a private. Clear?
Yes.
Right. Same thing. You can define the member functions also. You can define the member functions also. What is the function?
Some set of code.
Set of?
Okay. Some set of statements.
Some set of statements. Then some set of statements is called program. Then what is a function? Let's look. What is a function?
Hi, Philip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe everything is method in Java, but the thing that returns you something is called a function.
Pardon?
Every, like public static void main, everything is a method.
No,
But,
I'm not asking about any. I am not asking about any example. What is the function?
a function is something that returns a value, returns something.
What is use of function?
Functions are basically used to, like, I can only refer you in terms of Selenium that we are going to use it. We basically create functions to generate some action,
Okay.
which we
Right.
would be
So
using it.
yeah. So I'll give that point. So function is nothing but, suppose in a program to perform particular task number of times, which is having more number of statements, instead of writing those statements number of times, you can define a subroutine. That subroutine is called function.
Yes.
Clear with this definition?
Yeah.
Once again repeat. Once again repeat. In a program to perform particular task more number of times, which is having more number of statements, instead of writing those statements number of times, you can define a subroutine. That subroutine you can call it as a function. For example, I want to check, you can accept two numbers and check whether both the numbers are prime numbers or not. How many times you are going to be write prime numbers logic?
One time.
And in general, I am not talking about the function. Suppose you are accepting the first number, that you have to check whether the prime or not. And again you can accept the second number, again you have to repeat the logic once again. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. That means the task is repeated, but the task having some set of statements, instead of writing those statements repeatedly, I can define a subroutine. That subroutine you can call it as a function. Simply said, the purpose of function is reusability. Reusability in the sense creating once and utilizing a number of times. Clear with this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So these functions, what are the different categories of functions are available? Yes.
Categories of functions in the sense like
What are the different types of functions are available?
non-static functions and static functions.
Then? So basically these functions are categorized into four types. One is the functions with no arguments, no return value. Functions with arguments, no return value. Functions with arguments and return value. Functions with no arguments and return value. Clear? Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello?
Clear with this? The types of functions?
Yes.
Once again repeat. The functions are the four types. Functions with no arguments, no return value. Second one, functions with arguments, no return value. Functions with arguments and return value. Functions with no arguments and return value. So they are the function categories. Those functions we can see, we can declare within this class definitions. Members, these two in your sample program, AB and members, and here you can declare the member functions. Clear with these points?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So these things we will see in tomorrow's session, how you can work with the member functions and how we can work with your arguments. Again, what are the different types of arguments, parameter passing mechanisms, those things we'll see on the next session. In next session, we are going to be see this part also, that is the inheritance also. Clear?
Okay.
Any clarifications, any doubts?
Regarding the class, no, but will you send these example programs and the session recordings to us?
Session recordings, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Today I actually forget about make it recording, and so second from next session onwards I can make it possible, no problem.
Okay.
Right. So those statements, you have three programs. One is a perfect number or not, one is a prime number or not, and the next one is Armstrong number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those things we'll see in the next class. So from the next session onwards, I can make it recording and then I can forward to you.
Okay.
Right. So that's about the end of this session, right?
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, Alok. Any doubts?
I have Virendra. Yeah, I just
Any doubt?
joined in for the first time. I was just going through what you have taught today.
Okay, okay.
So, what was that program that you were talking about? That prime, Armstrong, and perfect number?
Perfect number, I have given three programs for worked out purpose. One program is a perfect number or not.
Okay.
So,
Perfect number you mean to say a whole number?
No, no. Except the given number, remaining factors sum equal to given number is called perfect number.
Okay.
For example, you can take the 6. Except the 6, what are the factors for 6?
2 and 3.
1, 2, 3. Right?
1, 2, 3. Yes. Yeah.
So 1 plus 2 plus 3 equal to 6. That is the condition, right?
Yes.
So you know the prime number logic. What is the prime number?
Yes. It should be only
So
divided
you
by
have
itself.
the total number of factors is 2. 1 and then itself.
Yes.
And another one is the Armstrong number or not.
Mm-hmm.
Armstrong number definition, in a given number, the sum of individual digits to the power of number of digits is equal to given number. For example, you can take the 153. In 153, how many digits are there?
3.
3 digits. Now for individual digit to the power of number of digits, that is 1 cube plus 5 cube plus 3 cube.
Okay.
So that is the sum of cubes, individual digits to the power of number of digits in a given number. So it becomes a Armstrong number if it is satisfied. So these three programs are given it as a worked out examples.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you are using command prompt to compile your Java files?
Yeah.
Okay. You are not using Eclipse and all?
No, no. Initially, you can practice with the same process.
Okay.
So if you are practicing in such a way that if you are getting any errors, if you go for Eclipse, what happens? It will give everything. It's user friendly.
Yes.
It's not possible to remember what are the syntaxes and what are the things. Somewhat we have to practice in the initial stage by using only this way. And once you can enter into some advanced concepts like AWT and then applets, then we can switch over to the Eclipse.
Okay. So would you be covering like hash tables, hash map, and inherit and those listeners and all as well?
Collections. You're talking about the collections.
Yeah, collection APIs and all.
Yeah, yeah. I'll teach. No problem.
Okay. Okay, fine then.
Okay.
Just have a look on it. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, Parin. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you. Same time.
Bye.
Have Pranita any doubts?